entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Behind the Camera with Charisse Glenn and Joshua Rappaport, only on LA Talk Radio.
And here we are with Behind the Camera, Part 2.
Wow.
I'm Joshua Rappaport, and this is...
Hello, I'm Charisse Glenn, and I will be with you in one moment. I'm actually trying to get us up on Facebook Live.
She's the computer-oriented one. She's doing Facebook Live.
Okay,
Just to remind everybody, we are both commercial casting directors here in Los Angeles with combined total of over 65 years of experience. We're here to answer any questions that you have. You can either call us the 20th Century way, 323-203-0815, or contact us the 21st Century way, a la Facebook Live.
Fantastic. So, people, last week I had no idea how this Facebook Live worked, and I didn't realize some people were actually typing in while we were talking. I saw it after the fact. So I thought today we would address those questions now.
Sounds good to me.
And if you would like to continue asking questions as the show goes, I would be happy to read them on camera live.
And again, you can call us at 323-203-0815. So what are the questions from last week, Charisse?
Okay, so number one question was, how do you start your resume when you have no experience?
That is a very good question and a very difficult one that we all struggle with. I would say the first thing to do is to, any classes that you've been a member of, to put that down under training. If you've done any theater any time in your life, even if it's high school, that's at least somewhere to start. Other things that any young actor should be doing is trying to procure work for yourself as much as possible, whether it's in student films, films through universities. We have great universities here with great film and theater programs. And to just start your education. What would you say? What advice do you have?
You know, LA is, I'm not sure that this is up yet, by the way, but I am working on it. LA is great because there's AFI, there's a lot of film programs that have young directors, young writers, young everybody that are breaking into the business, and they're always looking for actors.
Well, you know what's also interesting is we're living in a day and age where web shows, online experience, social media experience. I mean, when we were coming up, when I first started, if you wanted to make a short, you had to rent camera equipment, buy film, do film processing, color correcting, coding, and then video came along, and of course video had a certain look and feel to it, and people were not so attuned to that.
And it was really expensive.
Yeah, all of that was really expensive. Nowadays, with technology the way that it is you can shoot a film on your phone. Mm-hmm. We're being filmed by a phone right now, as a matter of fact.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunity to create your own work, to create your own...
Right, and you can also create your own short stories with your friends, and if you have zero experience and you can't get to AFI, you can't get to UCLA, you can't get to any of these schools, there's always small theater in your community.
Absolutely.
There's local theater everywhere. It's a great place to learn being on your feet. And monologues. I love monologues. Turn on your camera, get a good tripod. They don't have Samuel French anymore. Closed down the most famous bookstore of all time. But
for actors here in Los Angeles, there's a bookstore named Samuel French. It's now closed. So there's no central location where you can go and find things. You have to do it sort of online now.
Mm-hmm. But you can find great monologues. Sometimes early days when I started acting, I would see a film, I go, oh, I love that monologue. So then I would rent the video.
Transcribe it.
Like replay. So that's how I did it in the old days. Now you could probably find it online.
I would also say to every young actor out there, one of the great classes everyone should take is an improv class. And there are plenty of improv classes, even through community college. Obviously, the big players in the game are the Groundlings, Upright Citizens Brigade, Second City, Acme Theater Company. There's plenty of improv places where you can at least go and get started and learn how to be in front of an audience and learn how to survive.
Okay, so that's a good start. And then the next question was, do I need an agent to submit to you?
No, you don't. The fact of the matter is, as we covered last week, there are different casting services that most professional casting directors use: LA Casting, Casting Frontier, or Breakdown Services. On each one of those venues, there is a place for public submissions. Now, the fact of the matter is I don't post every job that I do to the public. We have that
What is
option.
your percentage?
Well, I don't know about percentage. What I would say is what I post to the public is, in all honesty, if the job is not paying great and I'm looking for actors who are willing to work when their agents might not necessarily want to submit them, or if I'm looking for something specific in terms of a skill.
Right. I very rarely post to the public unless
Right.
it's something very specific to a skill, an ethnicity, maybe a family. I'm looking for a family, or people that are definitely not in the business that might have relatives that, they could put together groups of people for me. But very rarely do I open it to the public. If it's definitely not if it's a SAG job.
Right.
Unless, again, it's like, squirrel suit flyers.
Right.
Something
no,
random.
Something very specific or something very difficult to find through the normal venue. That being said, there are casting directors, I'm sure, who put a lot of things on to the public. So once you register with LA Casting, once you register with Casting Frontier, you are then able to, through a fee, able to access breakdowns that they put out to the public, and you can submit yourself through that. That does, I absolutely have seen people from public submissions.
So have I.
There's no question about it.
Okay, but here's another question regarding, this is a little loud for me, by the way. Another question in relation to submitting on your own is, as an actor, you need to be cognizant of submitting on jobs that you don't have a conflict to.
Right.
So that's it. As an actor, that's your responsibility. So a conflict is you can only do one product per category. So if I was going to do a soda commercial, I couldn't do a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi commercial. If I was to do a bank, I couldn't do Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Now these are under SAG guidelines. These are for a union job, but it applies to a non-union job, because if you did a bank commercial when you were non-guild, non-union, and then you became guild and union, you would still hold that as a conflict.
Right. So it's imperative that you as an actor understand that when you do a job, that creates a conflict somewhere to somebody.
Right.
And then if you don't have an agent, and then you get an agent, you have to tell them what spots you have currently running.
Boy, this is complex.
It is a little complex.
You have to be able to manage these things. It can't just be that you book something and then, well, they're non-union, so they're not holding a conflict. That's all well and good, but when you become a guild member, they will be holding the conflict.
Right.
So, and that's another case where, for instance, if just randomly a soft drink says that they're going to be doing an ad with you and they're not going to be holding a conflict, that doesn't make it so that just because they're not holding a conflict doesn't mean you can do another soda commercial, because the other company might want to hold the conflict.
Correct.
So that gets into a little nuance. We're a little farther down the line there. But what was the original question? Can they submit to us?
Yes.
Yeah, can they submit to us? Yes, they can. Now, what happens if you submit yourself and your agent submits you and I call you directly? What do you do about your agent?
Well, if you've signed a contract with your agent, you go through your agent, because you owe your agent a percentage of anything that you book, whether you book it solo or you book it through them.
Right.
And then if you have a manager on top of that, you pay the manager on top of that, regardless of who procures the work.
So am I making any money?
Very little.
That was harsh, but true.
Okay, so those are the questions from last week that we didn't address, I believe.
Now, last week, what we started off talking about is the overall process of making of a commercial, of casting of a commercial.
Of getting an audition and doing your job and getting to the point where you get booked.
Right. Now what happens?
What happens when you get booked?
What happens when you get booked on? Let's break it down into two different things. What happens when you get booked on a non-guild project, a non-union project?
Well, they're both similar, pretty similar. Some of the rules are a little different. But once you get booked, that means the production company calls the casting director, us, and tells them we are booking, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. So then we contact the agents. I do it via email. I don't know if you call or not. Some people do call. I do it via email, so I have a paper trail of it all, and tell them your actor's booked. This is the product. Give a lot of specifications. Please confirm the booking. So the booking is not confirmed until your agent calls you and you say, yes, I in fact am still available for those dates that I originally said I was available for. I accept the booking. And then the agent then contacts me again with the specific information I've requested. If it's a SAG job, I need a social security number or their SAG ID number, emails, cell phones. If it's a child, date of birth, work permits.
Oh, this is an interesting sidebar you suddenly brought up about children. Yeah. There's a lot of things that go into having children work in this industry, the first of which are governed by California state labor laws, which are the more important laws that you can't break when you're a parent trying to get a child involved.
I think that's a whole nother show.
It is, and we'll go into that. But when you book a child, you have to get some other information. They have to have what's called a Coogan account. We'll cover this in another show.
A work permit.
Work permit that's current. We'll cover that in the kids show.
And that comes through, actually through the school, and the principal and the teacher have to sign off on that.
Right. So there's there's added paperwork and added protections really for children when we're booking children on jobs, whether it be union or non-union. This doesn't have anything to do with the Screen Actors Guild or not. When you're working with children, it's California labor laws take the precedent.
Right.
And you have to make sure to adhere to all of those because you don't want to be afoul of those people.
Right. So anyway, so that information comes back to me. If it's a SAG job, then that information has to go, then you have to clear through SAG. So that's called the Station 12. And a Station 12 is essentially your...
Okay, why is it called Station 12? I have no clue. I don't have the answer to this.
I have no idea.
But we all have to go through what's called a Station 12.
And it's a big S and a big T and a 12.
Yeah.
And it's not written out station.
No, it's ST12. I don't understand. Anyway, you have to go through a Station 12, which means that the casting director has to give your full name as you're registered with SAG and your social security or your membership number. Screen Actors Guild then plugs that into their computer, and it comes back one of just a handful of different responses. One can be NRNG, non-record, non-guild. So that's somebody who's never been a member of the guild. It could also come back as a must join. This is somebody who's worked under a SAG contract, had a Taft-Hartley written, and now they're going to have to join SAG. How much is it to join SAG, Charisse?
$3,000 plus what?
$105.
Yeah.
It's $3,105 that you can pay in installments. Three $1,000 installments.
Okay, on a sidebar, how much was it when you joined SAG?
I paid, I don't remember exactly, but I think it was like $170.
Mine was $400. It was close to what my rent was, which was a lot of money then.
Well, a day rate on a Screen Actors Guild commercial contract right now is about approximately $705. When I did my first commercial in 1976, the day rate was $140.
Wow. Well, when my stepfather, Alex Sharp, who was a stuntman, he was one of the original guild members, and I don't remember exactly what his membership was, but it was like $22 or $12. I mean, something innocuous.
Right. We'll get into joining SAG in another show as well. A lot of things get deferred to another show because they are whole topics unto themselves.
Okay, so once we get cleared through, so there's must join.
There's must join, and then there is in arrears, which means that you are a member, but you've not paid your dues. And then there's in good standing,
Which isn't okay.
Which isn't okay. Once you get the clearance from SAG or the ruling from SAG, whatever that may be, then an action has to be taken. If it's an okay, then you can proceed with your booking. SAG no longer needs to be involved. If it's a must join, you have 7 business days from the day that you shoot. I'm pretty sure it's 7 business days from the day that you shoot to join SAG.
Right. And
then also, if you're a must pay, I think maybe it's 6 business days from the day that you shoot that you have to pay your dues.
so both of those things can be done online, though. So if you are in arrears with your dues, what happens is I would call your agent, and this oftentimes would be actually a phone call.
Yeah.
And because time is of the essence. So let's say we book on Friday and you're shooting on Monday, and sometimes our clients are sticklers that you oops, I keep hitting this. Sticklers that you have to be up to date before you actually walk on set. Because if you're not, and then that 6 days passes once you've shot and you don't pay, then there's all these fines that are involved. So I call the agent, they call you, and they go, hey, Joe, you need to call SAG right now, and you have to pay your dues. So that can happen quite quickly. If you're a non-record, not in guild, which means you've never done anything before, then it is on the shoulders of the casting director, and we write a letter to SAG, it's called the Taft-Hartley report, explaining why we are hiring you and not some other SAG actor. And we have X amount of days from the day it shoots to get that paperwork to SAG.
Right.
Which has nothing to do with the actor, except for the information they have to give to us.
There was a time and place, too, I don't know if you remember this, when agencies would guarantee.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that? It used to be that if you were in arrears in your due, arrear in your dues, I could talk to your agent and they would guarantee that your dues were going to be paid. I don't think they do that anymore.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I think it's on the actor to have to pay your dues.
Okay, so you're clear. Finally, everybody's happy. Production has your information. We are good to go. The casting director is starting to breathe a little bit easier because you're booked, you're confirmed. So then what happens is you will wait for a phone call from a stylist or wardrobe person or somebody in production that will contact you, often asking you to verify sizes, and then to bring wardrobe to your wardrobe fitting, which is often before the shoot, but sometimes it's on the same day as the shoot.
It is sometimes on the same day, but it's oftentimes a day or 2 days before. It depends on the shoot, depends on how much they're shooting, depends on how big their cast is, depends on all of their logistics. But the point Charisse is making is, generally speaking, from production, the first person who will contact you is the wardrobe stylist, as opposed to anybody from production with a call time or shoot time or anything like that.
Right. And so when the stylist calls, they're going to ask you to bring sometimes what you wore in the audition, or if you have any specific things. Let's say I did a hiking thing, so they wanted me to bring hiking boots that actually fit me, that
Imagine
work.
that.
And a whole plethora of other things. So here's the question to you, Josh. When they ask you to bring your entire wardrobe, how much of it do you really bring?
I bring a wide array of things that will show me in different looks, but if I have 6 different shirts in 6 different colors, I'm not going to bring all of them. You know, you try and understand what they're looking for and try to fulfill that as best as is humanly possible. But
well, often I'll ask the stylist if there's a color palette that they're using on set, and sometimes there is, and sometimes there's not.
Right.
So, okay. So now I have a little wheeled, like a carry-on bag that I put my stuff in, because sometimes you're parking way out in the middle of Timbuktu to get to wherever your fitting is. You get to your fitting, somebody's there to check you in, you sign in with the time that you're supposed to be there. You open up your bag and they look through it, and for me, almost never do they pick anything that I bring, except for almost always do they use my own jeans.
Oh, well, that's
which
nice.
is great.
That's good.
And this is just an aside to women. So when you're at a fitting, you usually don't have privacy when you're changing your clothes. You won't be with mixed genders, but there's often other women there that you're taking off a top and they're handing you something, or you're pulling on pants. And so I always say, make sure your undergarments are in presentable.
Good, Nick.
Okay. And this is true and graphic. So on commercials, they do not like to see cleavage and they do not like to see nipples. So make sure that you have a good brassiere that is not too flimsy, that covers everything up. And I always take a couple that have different bra straps so it fits under whatever wardrobe they bring to me. You don't have to worry about that, Josh.
I don't have to worry about that. Thank God.
So now you're on the fitting and they start handing you different outfits. You put on the outfits and then they take a picture of you. And sometimes, well, now it's often on an iPhone or an iPad. They'll take a picture of you. And when you do that, you're not posing for the picture. You're really just standing so they can really see the outfit. And as the stylist said to me, but you should always smile because it makes you look better.
You should always smile, but you really have to understand that you're just a mannequin at that point.
Yeah, they're just looking specifically at the clothes, and now they're looking at their whole color scheme and how you fit with the other actors. And you may do this with many outfits, or you may do it with one or two. It really depends.
Every shoot is different in terms of how they're going to wardrobe you, how many people are going to be there, who's going to have the okay of the wardrobe. Each job really takes on its own flavor.
So you just, you might have to sit around a lot and wait for the other actors. And if it's a group of 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're all there at the same time, sometimes they'll want to see us in our final outfit, the one that has been approved, and see us all together to see how we work together as well.
What happens if they put you in something that you don't like?
You just keep your mouth shut. And
grin and bear it is what I say.
Unless it's something that you can't move in. Like I've been put into outfits where I literally couldn't move my arm, and it's like, and I won't say I don't like this. What I will say, if I have to move, I can't wear this. You know, I literally cannot move my arm. The one thing I will speak up about are shoes. If I'm doing a sport that requires me to have good footing. If it's just an ugly shoe that, well, ugly to me, or an uncomfortable shoe, if I can bear it for an hour or two, I'm fine with it. But like this hiking thing that I did over the summer, they put me in some hiking shoes I could not walk in. They were so tight. They hurt. And I knew I was going to be not just walking, I was climbing rocks and kind of rock climbing. So I mentioned it to somebody, and the director speaks to me quietly and says, bring your own shoes, which I did. And those are what I wore.
Sometimes they get crazy about things, and it's not about the shoes.
Well,
but they want you to look a certain way and be, but you also have to look out for your own safety, for your own well-being. And if they put you in some shoes or something that is not, it's just not that it's not comfortable, but something that is going to impede your performance.
I've honestly never worn anything that I've personally wanted to take home.
I always envy those people who go on shoots and get a whole new wardrobe out of it. Like you get a new suit or something. I've never had that happen either.
So so now you're finished with your wardrobe. You sign out.
Now, also on a wardrobe fitting, if this is a guild job, you are getting paid for it. So there is a bump for your wardrobe fee. So it's not as if you
often for non-union, there will be a fee.
Yeah, sometimes we'll try and work in, casting directors, from my point of view, are trying to look out for the actor. So production companies might not have a wardrobe fee in their budget, but will always try to somehow finesse it so that they can get a wardrobe fee, at least something for the actor giving anywhere from an hour to 2 hours of their time to be a mannequin.
They have to drive there.
They have to drive there. They have to, it takes time. It's part of the work of being an actor, though, is doing that. But you should be paid for it. So sometimes there is pay there, sometimes there isn't pay there. And in a non-guild project, when they say what the money is, that's generally speaking what the money is. When it's a guild project, all of these things are covered under the guild contract. So you're protected for your wardrobe fitting or anything else that might happen. So, okay, so now you've been to wardrobe, you have signed out, everything is hunky-dory, everybody's happy.
Oftentimes on wardrobe, if there's a script that you have to learn dialogue, they will often give it to you then.
Right.
Or if there's anything specific, sometimes they'll ask you to go to a tanning booth or to not shave.
To not shave or to get a manicure, or oftentimes they'll take care of them, some of these things, but it's also your obligation to look your best.
Yeah, you want to go in with nice hands and feet.
Yes, of course. So that's all done, and then you're going to be shooting, let's just say, in 2 days. What do you do for those 2 days?
Oh, that's a loaded question. So that's a really good question. So what I would do is go get a massage, make sure I get a lot of sleep, don't drink any alcohol, do everything I can so I look really fresh and relaxed for the shoot. Now, what you don't want to do, we were talking about this earlier.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I booked as a casting director, I booked an actress to shoot. I can't remember. I think it was New Mexico. It's in the middle of nowhere again. And the day that she was supposed to fly, she doesn't get on her plane. So the producer calls me and says, we can't find her. They've called her, emailed her, spoken to the agent. Somebody's gone to her apartment. They cannot find this girl. So they searched for quite a long time. We really looked for her. Finally, they had to book the second girl, the backup girl, which they did, got her onto location.
Now, let me ask you something. Because normally speaking, when we book somebody, I tend to call back and release any avails that I had on other people. So that person is no longer obligated to be holding those dates. What happened if you were lucky that this girl
I was lucky. Yeah, we were all lucky.
Yeah, this girl, the backup girl was available.
And sometimes they're not. And sometimes you go to the third choice and then go back and look at the tape. And, it can be, you want to scream.
Yeah. I thought I was done.
You want to scream, you want to pull your hair out. So long story short, so the shoot was finished. They were happy enough. And then finally I heard from the agent. The girl who went MIA went hiking in some remote place, got lost, was in the mountains for 2 days and had to be air vac'd out.
Oh God, I'm glad she survived, but
Yeah. So to get ready for a shoot, I would not do that. I wouldn't go snowboarding or jumping out of an airplane or anything dangerous.
You don't want to jeopardize your health or the health of the shoot. So you have to be conscientious and know that you have work coming up and be prepared for that.
Yeah, you don't want to show up with bruises or, scrapes
or scratches or anything. You want to be in your best, and makeup can help somewhat, but you want to be prepared for it. So it's the day before the shoot and you haven't heard anything. What do you do?
It's the day before the shoot, you haven't heard anything, and you call your agent and go, they haven't called me yet. It's 10 a.m. They'll go, it's okay, wait. And so now it's 1 o'clock. They haven't called me yet. It's okay, wait. And at 6 o'clock, you call back and they haven't called me yet. Then the agent will usually call production at that point, and they will usually come back with, they're working on the shoot schedule. They will get back to you before 8, sometimes before 10.
Sometimes even later. The point being is, don't panic. People, actors, they want to know when they're going to be and where they have to be and how they have to be there. Production is trying to juggle a lot of balls. And so to keep everything in the air, oftentimes that next day's call times don't go out until late. But they will contact you, trust us.
Well, it's often like if you're not the first day of shooting and they are on set already, they're having to wrap that day, and there's a certain turnaround that you have to have for your crew.
12 hours.
Before you can schedule the next day. So there's a lot of logistics, and you, being the actor, you're just one little cog in the wheel.
Right. There's a lot of things that have to happen. So you wait patiently, and of course we all have phones in our pockets now, so it's wherever you want to be, you can be there. But they will. Go ahead.
No, so you get your call time, and it's 6 a.m.
in Pacoima.
in Pacoima. So,
And you live in South Bay.
so what I do is I put it on my Waze or some navigational app, and it says 2 hours to get there. So I will give myself 2.5 hours to get there
Right.
because you never know what's going to happen. And I go to bed and I hope I can sleep. And then I wake up in plenty of time to, get myself prepared and ready. And I always have my bag packed the day before of what wardrobe has asked me to bring. Sometimes, sometimes they'll ask you to bring something that you didn't bring the first go around, a camisole to go under something or specific. I don't know, something specific.
This also goes to the idea that usually when you're at the end of wardrobe, whatever wardrobe you're going to be wearing on the set, even if it's yours, you've left it with production.
Correct.
You don't take it home with you.
No.
So the clothes that you're going to be wearing are already in the production's hands.
Right. And they'll press them or clean them or
They'll do whatever
they need to do.
Whatever they need to do. Mm-hmm. The point Charisse is making is be prepared to be wherever you have to be early. I like to quote the adage that early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. And being late on a shoot is, for an actor, I find it to be something that's truly unacceptable.
Absolutely.
I always find that in a strange way, you're sort of disrespecting everybody by being late, because you're the one person on the set that if you're not there, they can't shoot. Believe it or not, a director could not show up, they could still shoot. A cinematographer could not show up, they could still shoot. But if there's nobody to shoot, they can't do anything. So always be early at all costs. Mm-hmm. I just can't put it any other way. And of course, everybody understands traffic problems, logistic problems, one-off, mm-hmm. There's all kinds of different reasons that people are late. But do your best to be on time.
That's why important. I say, they say 2 hours. I give myself 2.5. You get there early. They always have breakfast or lunch or whichever meal it is that you're walking into. There's food. You can sign in. You can put your stuff down. You can relax. You can see the lay of the land. And that brings us to, what do you do when you walk onto the set?
I was just going to ask you that exact question. Who's the first person you look for on set?
Well, okay, so you park, and sometimes you park, and then they have to shuttle you to where you're going. So that first person might not be there. The first person is usually when you get to the set location.
Right. But who's in charge of actors?
The second AD.
The second AD. Mm-hmm. The second AD is the person that you're looking.
This is like a quiz show, by the way.
Yes. No, I ask her questions and see if she comes up with the right answer. Because I've got all the answers. No, I have none of the answers. The second AD is the person who governs the actor on set. So when you get to set, you check in with the second AD. When you have to go someplace, do something, whether it be the bathroom or to clear your head or to make a phone call, you let the second AD know where you are, especially if it's on a big shoot. You're not being a nudge. You're not being a problem if you're telling the second AD where you're going.
No, they want to know where you are at every moment. And so you'll check in with them and they will get your contracts together. You'll look at your contract. If it's a SAG contract, there's very specific ways in which it needs to be filled out. And nowadays, what agents like is for you to take a photograph of the contract before you sign it, email it to them. They'll look it over and they'll, yes, good to go, or make sure you check this or that. And once you have the okay, then you sign it. And then at the end of the day, you sign out. So it actually has your in time and your out time.
And at the end of the day, you'll get a copy of your contract.
Right. So again, I would take a picture of the contract signed by them and by you and get that to your agent. So your agent always has an executed copy of your contract in their files. So now you're on set. I just want to say also that this, whether it's a guild shoot or a non-guild shoot, the second AD is still the person you're looking for. Right, and the contracts are, you still want to do the same thing. You want to take a picture, and often with a non-union job, in my experience, the agents will have a copy of the contract before the job because there's so many variables with a non-union job.
That brings up a really good point. As casting directors, I always try to get a copy of the contract prior to booking so that the agents can look at it and we can start to troubleshoot any kind of discrepancies or miscommunications or clauses that are not, that the actor will not agree to. So we try to negate as many problems beforehand as possible, but you can't always do it.
No.
You can't always do it. They don't always necessarily have the contracts ready. Whereas on a Screen Actors Guild job, those are pretty much standard contracts. They're just whether you check certain boxes or
there's
not.
special provisions or,
Usages and things like that. Okay, so you're on set. You've checked in with the second AD.
And then the second AD will go, Josh, you go to wardrobe. Charisse, you go to makeup.
Right.
And then they start doing what you're doing, like, whatever it is, whatever kind of makeup they need to do. On an aside, again, one of the things I do, depending on what kind of wardrobe I'm going to wear for the scene, if there's anything that has to come over my head, you don't want to, when you're going to break for lunch, you don't want to be taking off your wardrobe because they've already done your hair. So I always bring a big, oversized, button-down shirt that I can put over it. So when I have lunch or drinking anything, I can put it on so my wardrobe stays nice and clean.
The point being is, oftentimes when you break for lunch, the wardrobe will come over to you and say, okay, let's take those off. And you have to change back into your own civilian clothes.
Yeah.
But this is a really good solution, is to bring something that you can wear as an overshirt to protect everything from your splattering.
Well, I've had several jobs where you don't change because the clothes are so tight and you're going to screw everything else up. So it's a really good habit. So if in my kit of stuff that goes to set with me, it's a shirt that just kind of lives there.
Right.
And I always bring a straw too.
I hope a stainless steel straw.
It is.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Of course, good. No plastic straws.
And do you know why I bring a straw?
Tell us why.
Because women, when they do your lips, once your lips are done, they don't like you drinking out of a cup or anything, but you can drink out of a straw.
Right.
Because it doesn't screw up your lipstick.
Right. I have that problem. That's how
Bring deodorant.
Bring deodorant.
Sunscreen, if you have a certain kind of sunscreen that you like. In fact, I usually put it on before I go to set if it's going to be an outdoor shoot.
Right. These are all really great preemptory things that you can do for yourself so that you're comfortable once you're there, and then they can sort of manipulate you from there. You've done the base so that you're your blank canvas. So
Okay, so now we've done makeup and hair and we are in wardrobe, and you look at yourself and you go, holy cow, my hair looks horrible. I would never do it that way. I can't stand the way they've done my makeup. So what do I do about it?
you grin and bear it.
Right.
They are paying very good money for you to look the way they want you to look.
Right.
I've always felt that. You know, just as an aside, I remember as a young actor going into wardrobe fittings and having other actors complain about the clothes that they were putting them in, and I never understood that. I'm getting paid a good deal of money. I'll wear whatever you want me to wear. Mm-hmm. It's not really my decision. Now, I understand if it's a theatrical project and you're trying to create a character and you're trying to give yourself all the advantages of being in a certain wardrobe or a certain way that you look, but that's different from a commercial. A commercial, they're very specific about what they're looking for. They know their clients. They know what their clients like. And it's our job to help them execute their vision. So when they put you in something you don't like, or your hair is not the way you like it, or your makeup is not the way you like it, there's really, you can do something about it if you want to, but you're going to create a situation where they're not going to like working with you.
Can I tell you a story?
Of course.
This was a lot of years ago. It was for a telecommunications company, and we were 11 people that were booked for 7 days in a row. 7 days in a row. We shot in Malibu.
You got all the good jobs.
I had a couple good ones.
Yeah. It's 7 days in a row.
So the 11 of us, probably 8 of us have worked together before, because it was for a director who always hired the same people. And we had chemistry. I keep hitting this. We had chemistry. Don't do that on set, by the way. hit your mic. We had chemistry, and he just was that way. So whenever we auditioned for him, we're like, yes. So we booked this job, and this younger girl was on set, and they did her makeup, and she went into the bathroom and she altered it. And she made it really dark and strong, and the makeup people saw her. It's like, what did you do? And they, wanted to take it off, and she threw a big fit, and a producer had to get involved. So they were able to take off some of her makeup. And then she started complaining about her wardrobe and complained about this and complained about that. And by the end of the first day, she had irritated all of us. The second day, we were sitting outside having a meal break or whatever, and she got stung by a bee.
Oh, my goodness. She was nothing but trouble. How prophetic that the bee stung her. Did she finish the shoot with you guys?
No, she wanted to be taken to the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Which she was. And then she was released for the rest of the shoot.
Yeah, you don't want to be that person. I mean, there's just no other way of putting it.
It was her first job. It was a Taft-Hartley for her.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Is she still in the business?
I haven't seen her. I have no idea.
Okay.
So, wait a minute. So we're
way
hair and
off track.
makeup, and makeup, wardrobe, and then they go, okay, Josh and Charisse, we need you on set.
And off you go.
Because the second AD knows where you are.
Right. Now, on a Screen Actors Guild job, they've given you either a honey wagon, a trailer, a room, an area to sit in, someplace where they know where you are, and you can sort of camp out for the day. On a non-guild project, it might not be that you have a dressing room or a room or anything like that.
But you might have an area.
You will most probably have an area, and that's a case where you need to try to make yourself as comfortable as possible, conserve your energy as much as possible, and keep yourself occupied as much as possible. Nowadays we're so lucky we can take our computers with us. We have our phones. We have all of our distractions right there, which is great. But I would also say to keep your head in the game a little bit. Don't get so distracted by your phone so that if you had dialogue or something that was going on specifically, that you had to sort of wake up out of your stupor of being, mesmerized by your phone.
Yeah, so the last job I just did, I had to do yoga. So I spent, a good 10, 15 minutes just stretching out and, feeling ready to go into a pose. So now you're on set, and they tell you to get on set. What does that mean, Josh? Get on set.
Well, at any location where you're shooting, there is an area that is the set. And the set is whichever way the camera is pointed. It could be in the kitchen. It could be in the living room.
But what if there are 3 cameras?
They're all still generally pointed at one particular area where you, the actor, are going to be standing.
Okay.
So when you come on set, there's a lot going on. There's all kinds of people. There's gaffers and grips and lighting technicians and sound technicians, and they're probably going to put a microphone on you. If you have dialogue, you're going to get wired up with a lavalier mic. And again, through all of this, it's your job to be aware of everything and focused on what it is that you need to be doing on that set.
Okay, so Josh, is the second AD still there with you at this point?
The second AD is probably not there with you. The person, I've always defined it as the set belongs to the first AD. Mm-hmm. The first AD is the general of the set. He's the one who's going to be calling, for quiet. He's going to be the one who's dictating, who's helped dictate what the schedule of the shoot is going to be. He and the producer and the director get together, map out where they're going to be shooting, when they're going to be shooting, and how they're going to be shooting throughout the day so that they can try and keep on course. And when you're on the set, the first AD is the person who's going to most likely be talking to you, as well as the director. Some directors like to talk to actors. Some directors don't like to talk to actors.
Some directors, you don't see the whole shoot.
Some directors, you don't see the whole shoot. Now with video playback, where they have a little video village off onto the side, sometimes the director hangs out there. Sometimes the director is right on the camera. Sometimes the director is the cinematographer. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, there is a first AD. That's the person. If you're on set and you suddenly have to go to the bathroom, you turn to the first AD and tell him.
Quietly.
Yeah. Yes. Or loudly if you're not embarrassed. But the first AD is the person who takes charge of you. Just as an aside, when I was first starting out, I always made it a game with myself to look at everybody on the set and to figure out if I could name what their position is. So it became a game for me. Like, who's the best boy? Who's the dolly grip? Who's the key grip? Who's the this? Who's that? So to understand each one of those terminologies of what the crew is, and then to try and label that person as that department. Somehow it just made it easier for me to understand who everybody was and what their jobs were. And then it's your job to help facilitate that. Oftentimes, helping to facilitate means letting them do their job.
Mm-hmm. And not asking too many questions when you first walk onto the set, because you're standing there. Okay, so we walk onto the set. They go, okay, Josh, you camera left, Charisse, you camera right. We're just standing there. And we're like, okay, now what do we do? So you stand there because they're getting the lighting, they're getting how tall you are, they're framing it out. They've probably had somebody standing in earlier, or maybe not. Maybe this is the
Right.
first time they've seen people on the set. So you keep your mouth shut, you're pleasant. And remember, though, you are on camera. So in the video village, which is where the advertising agency and the clients are actually watching everything that's going on in the set, which may be in the next room over, you are on camera. So
You're wired for sound.
yeah. So anything you say or mouth, some people can read lips. You want to be pleasant.
Yes.
And then they tell you, what you're going to do,
Right.
and you stand by, which means
It means you are breathing deeply, focusing on what it is that you're going to be doing, going over your dialogue in your head if you have any,
or your action.
or your action, just sort of mapping it out exactly how it's been told to you and how you're going to execute whatever it is that is required of you.
And then they say,
Quiet on the set. Roll
And-
sound.
roll sound, and you want to make sure you do not have your cell phone with you.
Right.
Cell phone stays in the trailer with your backpack.
And once they roll sound, somebody will then say,
Action.
and you go off and do what you do. Now, at the end, they're going to say, cut, back to one. What does back to one mean? It means you get right back to the beginning spot wherever you started the scene, and you're going to do it again.
And oftentimes quite quickly.
Quite quickly. Every set has its own flow and its own rhythm. Really well-oiled sets move fairly quickly. In some cases, certain filmmakers only do a couple of takes. In some cases, certain filmmakers do possibly hundreds of takes. In commercials, it's somewhere in the middle. You're not going to be doing hundreds of takes of any one shot, but you're certainly going to be doing more than one or two takes of one shot. So anything that you're asked to do in a commercial, you're going to be doing it again and again. How many yoga poses did you do, and for how long?
We did yoga for 2 hours with goats.
Wait, that doesn't sound right. You did yoga with goats for 2 hours,
Mhm.
and were you doing all different positions, or were you doing the same position over and over?
We
and
were
over?
doing primarily 2 and sometimes 3 different. It was a sequence
So it was plank, downward dog,
and a balancing pose.
right, for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you people, but I don't think I would be able to survive a 2-hour yoga class
With goats.
with goats.
I know we're running close to being out of time, so I don't know if this story would. Okay, I'm going quickly. So,
Quickly? We have 2 minutes.
So we're talking about how many takes you do. I was on a job many, many years ago. I was on set 23 hours.
Yeah, that's a long story. We
Yeah.
don't. We
Okay,
don't
let's talk about it next time.
Yeah.
I won't even bring that one up. I do have a question though. So now we're on set. We have done it. We've done all the setups that we're going to do. Sometimes there's one scene, sometimes there's many scenes, sometimes there's dialogue. After you do the dialogue, then sometimes you'll do wild lines that are just straight into camera straight into the mic with the same ambiance. And now they wrap. They're like, woohoo, we got it. Thank you very much. Then what do we do?
Give back your wardrobe, wash your face, and go home.
Sign out.
Sign out. That's right. I forgot.
Sign out.
Get a copy of your contract, and off and on to the next one. Your day of paid vacation is over.
Yes, I like to always say thank you to the director and the ADs for sure. And I try to make contact with the advertising agency and the clients and just say thank you very much.
And we're going to say thank you very much because we've run over. So thank you very much. It's been fun for us.
So it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
You're listening to Behind the Camera with Charisse Glenn and Joshua Rappaport, only on LA Talk Radio.
We were so